Welcome back to another video, guys. Hopefully I've actually uploaded the correct video this morning and you're watching a new video. And we're going to start off here talking about the Xbox partner preview. This happened yesterday. It was their first time doing this. It was a 30-minute show where they showed off third-party content. Overall, I thought it was a decent show, just giving us a preview as to what we're going to be able to play in the near future. Nothing crazy, nothing insanely exciting, except for one thing that was a pretty big surprise in my opinion. They did show it off here, and I think this is a huge move here by Xbox to show it off, and we will get to that. But overall, a decent thing, and I hope they continue with these Xbox partner previews in between the major shows just to keep people updated in some newer games that are going to be coming out from third parties, from indies, and all of the studios that Xbox works with. But right off the bat, this is probably the biggest surprise from the entire show, and that is that they showed off Metal Gear Delta Snake Eater with the first in-engine look. And the game looks phenomenal in this in-engine look graphically, and gameplay looks pretty cool so far based off of what they showed with kind of some of the stealth and everything. But very surprising that they decided to show this off at an Xbox showcase, is showing that relationship building that Xbox has been doing with these Japanese studios with major games that you generally coincide with PlayStation. Showing this off at an Xbox event for the first time with the first in-engine look, I think is a big move by Xbox, and a lot of people are going to be talking about this and be excited about it. Then they showed off Alan Wake 2. Alan Wake 2, the gameplay looks phenomenal. The graphics look amazing. It's not coming into Xbox Game Pass. That was a lot of the speculation going into this event, that why are they showing this game off 2 days before it releases with a launch trailer at a brand new Xbox show, which you would think Xbox would want to get something huge to get people excited for these new shows. And they were thinking Alan Wake 2, potentially in Game Pass. And that's where my hopes were as well. That's not going to be the case, but the game still looks very good. We finally got the first gameplay footage for Ark Survival Ascended. If you're an Ark fan, I'm sure you'll like that. Got some new details on Ichiban Kazuga's upcoming adventure, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, where they showed a lot of building your house and being able to buy furniture and kind of just making you an area that is suited specifically for you. So people who are playing that game will like to see that one there. Still Wakes the Deep. I believe this was a game that was shown off first at the Xbox showcase earlier this year. And it is a horror, first-person, creepy style of game. And again, they showed more of it, and it looks like it's going to be very atmospheric. One of those games that you're going to be very much immersed in, always aware, and kind of there's going to be scares and all that type of stuff. So that one looks cool. And that one is coming over to Xbox, and it was just a deeper dive gameplay trailer of that. Now we have here Manor Lords, which very much reminds me of Age of Empires, and they showed off the first gameplay of it. This is coming to PC Game Pass. We just pull up some of the gameplay here. You'll see just exactly the type of game it is, a strategy game, and where you're building your bases and building up your civilization, essentially. And coming to PC Game Pass on day one, but also it was confirmed, I was able to confirm that it is coming over to console as well at a later date. So this is going to be one of those games that is not going to be locked to the PC platform. And next up we have Ikaro Will Not Die, which I think this is another one of those games that was surprising. Hadn't heard of this one before, but this game looks like a ton of fun. An action adventure game with fast-paced combat. I always like those styles of games. And this one really is no different here in terms of what it looks like and how fast you're going to be playing, how you're going to be jumping around and platforming and things like that, and just getting into pretty cool battles based off of what they did show off. So I'm excited for this one here. Ikaro Will Not Die. And now, again, not coming to Game Pass, but something to keep your eye on for when it does release. They showed off Spirit of the North 2, so if you played the first one, you have that. Showed off the RoboCop Rogue City, which actually looks like a good RoboCop game, and this launches on November 2nd. I'm probably going to be checking this one out eventually. We got a deeper dive into Dungeons of Hinterberg. They gave us a tour of the relationship building side of this game. So we know this is an action game. We know it's a dungeon crawling style of game, but there's also relationship building, which helps you level up and gives you more skills. And they kind of gave us an overview as to how that works, going around talking to people. And then you see all the people that you've met, and then you see other people that you haven't met, and you're going to get that ability to go and try to build more relationships to improve your gameplay. And then we have Make It to the Finals, or the Finals, whatever it's called, from Embark Studios. This one Looks very, very cool. Action-packed first-person shooter, team-based competitive shooter with just phenomenal looking graphics. I'm excited to see how this actually looks when it does release. The closed beta actually starting today, so people will get their hands on it and see how it feels. And if it looks as good as it looks in these gameplay trailers and fully destructible environments. I mean, this looks amazing. This kind of looks like what they were trying to do with Crackdown 3, but never really was able to accomplish that with all that cloud technology stuff. This looks like this is a first person version of what they were trying to do there. And I mean, graphically looks incredible. Looks like it will be a ton of fun. I will definitely be checking that one out. But overall, a decent show, 30 minutes long, just giving us a look of more games to play. And I'm excited for them to continue to do this throughout 2024 and keep this show going. Now let's jump over here. Let's talk about Baldur's Gate 3. People are wondering if this game is still coming to Xbox in 2023, and it is confirmed. The director of publishing at Larian Studios responded here to Ryan McCaffrey's tweet saying, I wonder if Baldur's Gate 3 is going to make it out for Xbox this year. As previously stated, I have no doubt that Larian Studios is hard at work on it and they're not going to rush it. But Q4 is almost 1/3 over already and we haven't heard a peep. And then he just responds, it is. So this game is coming out in 2023. You can expect that by the end of this year. The funny thing here about Baldur's Gate 3 is it was extremely hyped up. It did very well when it did release on PC. And then it released on the PS5. And we really didn't hear anybody on PlayStation talking about it after it released. People were saying that this was a PlayStation exclusive because it was delayed for Xbox, which obviously is not the case at all. And it seems like they didn't even really play the game too much on the PS5. So it is coming out for Xbox, and we'll see how well it does on the Xbox platform as well. And if you're an RPG fan, if you're playing Starfield now, this may be as well one you do want to check out, as it does have just a huge, incredible amount of good reviews, and a lot of people who have played it absolutely love it. So I'm sure there's a lot to love with Baldur's Gate 3. When it comes to Forza Motorsport, the game, I've been playing it. I've never really been huge into the Forza Motorsport series or into the sim racing games, or at least not recently. I did play Gran Turismo a decent amount way back on like the PS2 and the PS1, but since then haven't really been huge into sim racing. I'm more into the arcade racing. I like the Horizons. I like kart racing games. But Forza Motorsport, I've been playing it more than usual, and it is a beautiful game. And it is really cool how it feels in your hands when you're controlling the cars and the different feels of the different cars that you use. I actually really am enjoying it. And just as a showcase of how good some graphics can be, this is one of those games that I love to look at. And it looks like this one is doing very well. This Forza Motorsport beat the series' previous day one player count by 300%, with the help, obviously, of Xbox Game Pass. So this is another example of how big Game Pass is and how it can really help push studios to get more people playing their game and discovering their game, and then most likely spending a lot more time in a game that they wouldn't have previously. But a 300% boost in their player count versus the previous day one launch is massive. So Forza Motorsport is doing great. And just the Forza series, this 300% increase in player counts, you have the 34 million players into Forza Horizon. It is an absolute staple in the Xbox portfolio that continues to be something that will always bring in players to the ecosystem. And then we also have the redemption, the revival of Halo Infinite, and it is continuously climbing up. More people are continuously playing it. It is now the 15th most played game on Xbox, which is the highest it has been since launch. And this coincides here with the release of Season 5 Reckoning, which I've been playing a ton of, and it is fun. The game has been good for a while now. There's always this debate about Halo Infinite is good, is bad. I think it's always been a great game. Honestly, it's always been very, very good in terms of the gameplay. Probably the best gameplay in the Halo franchise. I thought the campaign was a ton of fun. I wish they would make some more content for the campaign, because I would absolutely spend hours and hours playing that. The multiplayer was a ton of fun at launch until the content got stale and they were just slow on releasing content. But for the last few months or so, the game has been phenomenal, and it's really paying off now with season 5. And I expect this to continue. I expect people to be jumping into play season 5, seeing how good it is now, and then continuously playing it and getting more and more hyped as more seasons release, like season 6, season 7, season 8. And Halo Infinite, in terms of player counts and in terms of popularity, will continue to climb up the ranks, which is what Xbox needs. I've said this before, but there's no Xbox without Halo. Halo is Xbox. They need this game to be as good as it can be. They need it to be popular, and it's getting back there based after a slow start. We saw the whole changes from 343 with the leadership changeover, and obviously that has also helped bring this thing to a better place. So lots of optimism now for Halo Infinite. When it first came out and people were pissed off about the content, it almost seemed like it was such doom and gloom that maybe have been like the end of Halo, some crazy stuff like that. But happy to see that the game is now doing well. Okay, let's jump over here. Let's talk about some PlayStation stuff. And this is got to be one of the most absurd things that we've seen. It's been nonstop, just bad press, bad news stories here for PlayStation. And this isn't only because I'm a Xbox fan, an Xbox centric channel, but they keep doing stupid things like this, and everybody is talking about it. And this is that the detachable disk drive that you're going to have with the PS5 Slim. You get to have the choice of having a disk drive on it or not. But when they first announced this, I thought this was great. Awesome that they are giving players the option to still have a disk drive on their console. They're not completely trying to wipe it away. I mean, they can't, because they've already sold so many physical games, and it would just be destroying an entire player base if they got rid of the optical drive. But I thought it was a great move. The detachable thing is great. If the optical drive happens to break sometime in the future, you just go out and buy another one. But they're kind of ruining that goodwill here with this stupid announcement that is coming out. And that is that there is an online requirement in order for your optical drive to actually connect and to actually work. It says, as spotted on the back of the box for the upcoming Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 PS5 Slim bundle, which is what we talked about in the last video, where this is going to be, I think, the first bundle with the PS5 Slim. I believe there's also going to be a Spider-Man 2 one coming out, but they're already starting to roll out their Slim console as their main one to push forward with their bundles. There's small print on the back that confirms that players who purchase the new model with the optical drive will be required to connect to the internet when pairing it to the machine for the first time. They say it's likely that this is a security measure in order to ensure that the disk drive is a legitimate one and not a third party. However, it has raised some preservation concerns. Whenever it comes to game preservation, if you've watched my channel for a while, you know that's always been a concern of mine. I hate it when they take games off of the online stores. I hate it when they don't have actual discs in collector's editions of games, unless they do something really cool to replace that, which they did with the Starfield Special Edition, where you actually got a cred stick instead with the code printed on. I just don't like it when they completely take away people's ability to go out and purchase games that they have all the control over. And if you take them off the stores, people may never be able to play some of these games again, especially if these are games that solely released online in digital form and didn't have a physical version like that. Or if it's a game that you need to connect to online, even if you do have a physical version, you can't ever access it again. I just always will be against that. And it's just another thing that is absolutely going to hurt game preservation. And it's just bad for the industry. It's bad for gaming, and it's bad for people who want to learn more about older games that did come out and see where kind of things started in the next generation, the generation after that, and beyond. This is just another bad thing. It says that because the accessory will require an internet connection for verification, there will potentially come a time when the servers needed to verify the license will no longer be operational. So you could go out there, buy this PS5 with this disk drive, and let's say in 15 years from now, they decide, hey, there's not enough disk drives out there. Let's just shut off these servers and nobody, so that we don't have to spend more money keeping them up. It's going to be a useless disk drive. And if you don't have a fat PS5, if you don't have access to a console that can actually play these physical discs, and this was the only thing you had, basically all your physical games are going to be thrown out the window. You're not going to be able to use them anymore on that disk drive specifically. They continue here and say, it's possible that by the time this happens, Sony will release an update that removes the requirement, but in any case, it's likely to be many years in the future, long after the PS5 is Sony's main console. So, I mean, it's just a bad move. Terrible move, stupid move. Hopefully they do remove this. Hopefully enough people are talking about it that they see that this is not something that makes any sense, that people want, and they do end up just allowing you to attach the disk drive to be able to play these games without having to connect to the internet. Like they say security. I'm sure it has somewhat to do with security, but they probably also don't want you to go out and kind of rig your own disk drive to the PS5 that would work with its connection, and so that you're spending all your money on the Sony license disk drive that comes for the console itself. So we will see how this all plays out, but it's just another hit to game preservation, and it's just another sign for the future of gaming that there's going to be a lot of content when we're much older that people just aren't going to be able to access anymore. Now, will people care that much? I don't know. I know I will care, but there's probably the majority of people, especially if they're already all digital right now, probably won't even care that much about it. But I just think overall this is a bad move by Sony. And when it comes to some more stuff that has happened with Sony, we know that David Jaffe went on a Twitter posting thing the other day talking about some big news that was coming against PlayStation or from PlayStation, and that it was going to be verified potentially by news outlets. It hasn't been officially verified yet by anybody else, I do not believe. But if we're taking David Jaffe's word for this, Connie Booth was not actually let go from PlayStation. She was fired, and she didn't retire as well. She was fired from PlayStation. They say Sean, who did another interview here, or he did another video where he went over a bunch of stuff that he knows about PlayStation. And this is kind of the summary here from Post Up. It says, Sean Layden was escorted out of the building when he was let go. And we know how prominent, how good PlayStation was when Sean Layden was there. He was a guy who really made that platform just unbeatable. And I think it's gone pretty much downhill since he left. Says that Jim Ryan was convinced that games as a service was the future and told PlayStation first-party studios to start making them. PlayStation studios were unhappy about this direction. Now, this is something here. A lot of people like to look at it as like this huge shot against Jim Ryan. Jim Ryan was correct to an extent. Games as a service was absolutely and is absolutely needed at PlayStation, but it shouldn't be their bread and butter. It should be something that supplements their first-party, third-person action cinematic games. Something that allows them to make money on an ongoing basis so they can go out and not think it's so risky to spend 150, 200 plus $1 million to make these third-party games. Take away some of that risk and allow them to just kind of be more creative in the games that they put out. Games as a service is an avenue for them to do that, expanding their user base by putting their games on PC, putting their games onto the cloud. That is another avenue to do that. The issue here is Jim Ryan just should have started this right when he came in, back with 2019 when he started. He should have started thinking along those lines right away. He didn't. He came in, he took over the reins and said, hey, PlayStation's great. We'll just continue the status quo, not realizing that Xbox was out there changing the game and improving the industry for consumers, making it more consumer friendly, and people were going to absolutely love being able to play games anywhere. And that the reality is that console exclusivity isn't the main driver for making money anymore in the console market, in the gaming industry, in terms of the big players with Xbox and PlayStation. So he was just late on it. But games as a service and those types of things, stuff that Xbox already has a ton of multiplayer, you need those games in your portfolio so that you can go out there and make those huge single player experiences, knowing that those games are going to be one and done, and you can take more risks and put out different styles of games. So I think he was just late on it overall. Continues here. Dave Jaffe says the cancellation of factions made a lot of PlayStation studios upset, causing internal turmoil, which that, I mean, is it officially canceled? I guess we don't know if it's officially canceled other than it's on ice. So I guess maybe he has more info. It says between that and the games as a service direction, Sony blamed it on Connie Booth and fired her. Says the vast majority of people who worked under Connie are gone, and it seems they left at the same time as she did. Angie Smets is awesome. No negative things to say about her. And apparently, this is a big one, Herman Hulst was in big favor of cutting all of the Japanese studios. And David Jaffe says that his contact wasn't a big fan of Herman, but I mean, he's saying this based off of speculation just from that one contact. In fact, this is exactly what he said, because there are people kind of mixing up exactly what he said versus what he really said. People are saying that Herman Hulst was the person who pushed Sony to close Japan studios, but this is exactly what David Jaffe said. He put out the clip himself on his Twitter, so we'll just listen to it.
Have been talking to me, but as to Herman though, apparently he was all in favor. Apparently, I don't have proof of this. This is one coming from one dude, but there's one dude I trust. Apparently he was in big favor of cutting all the Japanese studios.
So there's exactly what he says. So he was in favor of closing the Japanese studios. He didn't push them to, but he was in favor for. And if you think about Japan studios specifically and some of the creative, great games that they made, all those are gone. We haven't seen any of those in a very long time. So PlayStation is in a huge transitional period right now. They are trying to figure out what their next step is in order to be able to continue to grow and continue to be a leader in the industry and be able to compete with something like Xbox Game Pass and the ecosystem that Xbox has right now with games pretty much everywhere. So we're going to see a lot of stuff come out, I think, over the next couple of years. This is that transitional period. Like I said, that PlayStation, they have to go through this. And I think they will come out far better on the other side, and it will just overall be better for gamers in general. But it's a lot of interesting stuff here that is happening with PlayStation right now, going through this generation. But I'm going to end the video here, guys. If you did enjoy this video, hit that thumbs up. If you are new here, hit that subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.
Bye.